Alright, welcome back to the Virtue Bowling Supply YouTube channel. My name is Chris and I am here to bring the high rev perspective.
And my name is Josh and I will be bringing the low rev perspective.
Today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Hammer Maximum Effect, and I'm going to be comparing that to the RST Hyperdrive and the Track Theorem Solid.
And I'll be comparing it to the Special Effect and the Paragon Shadow. These comparisons will give us and you an idea of what these pieces look like going down the lane. Today we are here on a transitioned house shot at Mesa East. With that being said, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you out on the lanes.
Alright, after seeing the Maximum Effect go down the lane, this one was definitely, I feel like, a little bit more off spot for a strong and smooth ball than I was kind of anticipating. The first few shots really kind of wanted to come off of it. As I threw it a little bit more, it definitely tamed down a little bit. It was a little bit more smoother off the spot, but ultimately it was pretty forward going through the pins. There's not quite as much friction here as there used to be, but coming off the spot, it was pretty easy going through the fronts and continuing through the pins. I definitely liked the shape that the Maximum Effect gave me going down the lane. Now I'm going to compare that to the RST Hyperdrive. To me, I feel like the RST Hyperdrive it fits a similar spot as the Maximum Effect. I think the Maximum Effect is slightly earlier. I do think the friction responses are pretty close, but I do think I had to play a little bit straighter with the RST just because I didn't want to quite cover as many boards as the Maximum Effect did. So now I'm going to go ahead and compare that to the Theorem Solid. All right, after seeing the Theorem Solid go down the lane, this one out of the three is definitely the weakest option. I felt like I could definitely shape this one a little bit more. I had to play a little bit further left just because of how kind of quick it wanted to be when it saw the early friction. So being a little bit further left and shaping it a little bit more looked quite a bit better, but it's definitely the weakest option out of all of these three. All right, final thoughts on the Maximum Effect. Personally, I liked this one quite a bit more than the Special Effect. The Special Effect I just thought was a little bit too clean for the spot that it fit in the bag. So having this one being a little bit stronger and earlier and a bit smoother off the spot, I feel like it's a little bit more usable for me, especially on harder stuff and a little bit flatter stuff. I think this one's going to get a lot more use in my bag. So with that being said, I'm going to have to give this one a fire.
Just threw 10 shots with the new Maximum Effect. This ball for me right out of box hooked a lot. I kind of stayed in the general area that we just filmed the other video with. It went Brooklyn on me and I was not expecting that. I made an instant 5-board move and I still felt like that wasn't enough. Kept going, inching a little bit further left, and I finally felt like I got into a zone where there was just enough oil for this ball. They weren't lying. They advertised that this would hook a ton, and I have to agree with them. I felt like this ball for me, I had to keep it in oil to an extent, because if I got it to friction, it just went. Once I found enough oil, this ball looked amazing. I felt like it gave me a continuous shape. It was still predictable, but allowed me to play, typically as a straighter player, I'm normally trying to play straighter, but this one allowed me to really open up my angles and actually be more in the oil. So better again when there's typically a little bit more volume, I can see this ball being used. But for what we're out there right now, it still gave me a good shape. Even though they tend to hook a little bit more here at Mesa East, this ball still went through the pins very well. So now we're gonna go ahead and throw 5 shots with the Special Effect and see how it compares. Just threw 5 shots with the Special Effect. Instantly I could see how much cleaner this ball was. Even though it's a solid, it doesn't necessarily mean it's stronger. You could see how This one floated through the fronts a lot easier. Yes, it is lane shined and comes with, you know, compound or polish. You could see how much smoother and more predictable this was versus the Maximum. I felt like the Maximum was a lot more forward as well, where the special effect I instantly had to move 3 or 4 boards right and keep my angles a little tighter in order to really allow it to actually hook. So now we're going to go ahead and throw 5 shots with the Paragon Shadow and see how it compares. Just wrapped throwing shots with the Paragon Shadow. This ball I feel like was a little bit more comparable to the Maximum. However, I still think the Maximum hooked just a little bit more. I felt like the Paragon Shadow for me, like I said, was able to get through the front just a bit more than the Maximum, but overall still giving me a very similar shape. These two balls are very close to each other, but I would say just like the way the Maximum read the lane here, a little bit better today than the Paragon. Final thoughts on the Maximum effect. Like I said, the first couple shots were a little skewed because I just clearly wasn't far enough left, but didn't really know how much this ball was going to hook. But once I got into that correct zone where I found a little bit more oil in the fronts, this ball gave me a really good ball motion. I felt like this is something I can throw when there's a little bit heavier oil out there on the lane, and I can see myself really playing multiple parts of the lane. I feel like I can play straighter, but I also feel like I could get in when they're really hard, and this is the smooth, controllable ball that will allow me to really still keep it in front of me when I am playing a little deeper, you know, 3rd, 4th arrow. So with that being said, final rating for this ball is going to have to be a fire. I felt like this ball gave me a predictable shape, hooked a lot, and is something to where I feel like I could throw it faster and still get away with it. So that's for me, that's a no rever's dream is what I call it. So gonna have to be a fire for today.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video useful, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.